If you love the NFL Draft, subscribe to Chat Sports. I'll put the link in the comments and in the description below. We're going to be live for all 7 rounds on April 23rd to the 25th. So coming up right now on today's show, we got the top 25 wide receivers entering this year's draft. The number 1 wide receiver on my list, it is CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. And at 6'2", 191 pounds, the player that I think of when I see Lamb is DeAndre Hopkins. Why? The physicality, the great yards after the catch ability. And even though he didn't light up the NFL Combine, like a lot of these other players you're about to see, you're going to find a player who wants to be able to block, but he is a competitor. And I always hear people that say, Mitch, he played in the Big 12. Yes, you're right, he did. But even though he played in the Big 12, you're looking at a receiver who is going to be a number 1 player for a team someday, and he would be my number 1 wide receiver that I would take in this year's draft. Let's go to the number 2 player here on my list. It's Jeudy. And even though I love CeeDee Lamb, I think Jeudy might actually be safer than a player like Lamb. Why? If you want to be able to find somebody who can run a complete route tree, I think this is your guy. I think he would be a great fit with the Jets, the Raiders, the 49ers, just about any single team in the NFL. And when I see what he was able to do last year at Alabama, the 10 touchdowns and a run-first offense realistically, when you look at when Alabama really was dangerous is when Tua was obviously healthy, but when Jerry was really able to step up. And for a player at his size that can run the way he does with his complete route tree and as intelligent as he is, he's number 2 on my list. So we're going to go from one Bama receiver to another Bama receiver, and it's Henry Ruggs III, and he is the fastest player in the 2020 NFL Draft. Like, that's a legit stat. He ran a 4.27, absolutely blazing speed. That's top 5 in NFL draft history at the receiver position. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, Mitch, he's just a speedster, and I totally disagree with that. The NFL comp that I think of when I see Ruggs is actually Brandon Cooks, like right when he first came out, right, before all the concussions happened. But last year, don't look at the numbers. Again, you're looking at just a player in a system. Ruggs is going to be able to contribute right away to almost any team that he's on. You're going to see somebody who maybe should have been what Tavon Austin should have been. You're looking at not quite a Tyreek Hill, in my opinion, but an absolute freak athlete who is really going to open up an offense, not just over the top, but underneath as well, because that's also something that he does bring to his game. So I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. Who will be the first wide receiver drafted? In my opinion, it's one of those top 3 guys. But hey, here at Chat Sports, it's all about the interaction. So while the ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down, and I want you to let me know who's going to be the first wide receiver drafted. Let's go to number 4 here on our NFL Draft wide receiver rankings. I got Justin Jefferson, who I was super ecstatic to see that he had an unbelievable combine. And the fact that you're looking at a player who, sure, anytime somebody puts up over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns, you're going to look. Now, that also had a little bit to do with the LSU offense, but if you didn't watch the national championship game, if you didn't watch the game where Justin Jefferson's dropping 4 on Oklahoma, then I feel bad for you, because this is really where you saw this kid light up and really see his full potential. Now, I don't know if he's ever going to be a true number 1 receiver, but in terms of like a 1B receiver who can absolutely dominate over the middle, which is a very important role in today's NFL, I mean, he's got all the tools. He's a smart player, and I know he's going to work hard. Justin Jefferson, he is number 4 on my list for wide receivers. Let's go to number 5, and I think this is one of the cool stories, right? At the beginning of the draft process, Denzel Mims was probably looking at a 3rd-round pick. Why? Because of his route running, it needs work, and he's still a little bit raw. And then the NFL Combine happened. And if you want to talk about a player who boosted his stock just from the Combine alone, it's Denzel Mims from Baylor. Why? Yes, he had a productive year last season, 12 touchdowns, but at the ability to be 6'3", 207 pounds, and run a 4.3840, that is insane. But the 3-cone drill, okay, I get it, it's 6'6". But for anybody out there, go look at how special that 3-cone drill is for Denzel Mims. An incredible combine, an incredible player. I am really excited to see where he goes. But I will say this, Mims, unlike the top 4 players on my list, he needs to go to a team like the Green Bay Packers where I think he can be effective right away. If he goes to a team that's struggling at quarterback and they don't know their offense identity, I think a player like Mims could actually struggle just a little bit. I'll tell you what, though, man. I can't wait to watch these players get drafted, and I can't wait to watch them put on these hats. Chatsports.com/NFL draft hat. If you're looking for your favorite team's draft hat, go ahead, get it here at the link below. If you can't remember the link, I'll put it in the comments. I'll put it in the description down there. But it's chatsports.com/NFL draft hat. They're under $40. The flat bill ones are like $39.99. The curved brim ones are about $34, I believe. The one thing that the NFL draft finally did, they got hats that people want to actually wear. You can wear these with jeans. You can wear these when you go out to eat. All good stuff. 2020 NFL draft hats, they're coming at you. Let's get in now to the number 6 player, Jalen Reagor, out of TCU. And I think he's a very, very good athlete that unfortunately didn't test as expected. And I didn't want to dock him in my wide receiver rankings because between you and me, I like the combine, but I do think it's a little bit of an underwear Olympics. Watch Jalen Reagor's tape. You can see that he's very talented. You can see that he's very special. And I would actually make the argument that if somebody wants to put him at wide receiver 4, I'm totally okay with it. Jalen Reagor is going to be one heck of a player. Let's go to number 7 here on my list. It's T. Higgins. And T. Higgins, to me, is a legit number 1 wide receiver in terms of size. The only thing that does worry me a little bit is his lack of explosiveness. But you're looking at a very, very competitive young athlete who excelled at Clemson. And I think when you want to build an NFL team, if you're really trying to build a culture, if you're really trying to just mix it up a little bit with getting just the right people in that locker room, T. Higgins is going to be another player that I'm telling you, keep an eye on. Let's go to number 8 here, Penn State. And for those of you that know me, I'm a Penn Stater, so we are, KJ. He is undersized. I've seen some people mock him into the first round. I think he's a little bit more of a second-round talent because of the 5'9", 176 pounds. But he was effective last season in the Big Ten with 904 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. Undersized, but he does bring that explosiveness and speed, which teams, you can never have too much speed. Let's go to number 9 here on my list. I got Laviska Shenault Jr., and if he was fully healthy, he'd be number 4 on my list. Like, that's how talented actually Laviska Shenault Jr. is. And you're looking at a player who contributed in the receiving game, the rushing game, special teams. He was clearly the best player on Colorado, and he was actually probably the most freak athlete every single time he stepped on the field. The NFL comp that I see all the time about Shenault, some people might think it's crazy, a lesser version of Julio Jones. When fully healthy, Shenault is that talented. The issue is the durability. It's a major, major red flag. The number 10 player here on my list from USC, the captain, Michael Pittman Jr., and very, very intelligent player that can run that entire route tree, but also at 6'4", 220 pounds. I think if an NFL team uses him a lot like what the Saints use of Michael Thomas, that's where you're really going to see a player like Michael Pittman grow into what he can be. Now, USC, I definitely think, went through their fair share of ups and downs and different quarterbacks. The one thing that never changed was Pittman's production. And, I mean, you can see it. Over 100 catches last year, 11 touchdowns. But if you're an NFL team, you're looking at the 6'4", 220 pounds. You're looking at a player who had a 3-cone drill of 6.96, okay? Again, he went to USC. I'm sorry, it's early. It says Oklahoma in the background. Whatever. So I want you to shout out your favorite college football team. Throw it in there in the comment section below. I grew up watching Penn State. I grew up going to all the Penn State games, but I have learned an appreciation for Big 12 football since my boss is a Kansas State guy, since a lot of people here at the studio, they went to TCU, Texas, all that. So I want you to shout out your favorite college football team in the comment section below. Let's go to Arizona State, where I got Brandon Aiyuk as my wide receiver 11. And this one was tough for me because I love Aiyuk. Yards after the catch machine, just an absolute great playmaker. But he wasn't fully healthy, I think, at the combine, and I still don't know if he's fully healthy now. And I feel bad for docking a player who, because this whole Big C situation is happening, I wanted to see a little bit more. But it would not surprise me whatsoever if Brandon Aiyuk is like top 5, top 3 on this list, like 3 years into the NFL. Why? The dude makes plays. Number 12 on my list here, I got Chase Claypool, another player who has just grossly helped his NFL draft stock. And I say grossly because I used to play baseball. That's what gross means. So it's a good thing. But when you look at his insane combine at 6'4", 229 pounds, he ran under a 4.5 40. Like that's sick, guys. Like the last player this size to run that good of a 40-yard dash, his name was Calvin Johnson. Maybe you've heard of him. Now, I'm not saying Claypool is going to be Calvin Johnson. And I think if an NFL team wants to use Claypool effectively, you're going to use him a lot in an Evan Ingram type role. Let's go to Minnesota, where I got Tyler Johnson. And at 6'2", 205 pounds, you want to talk about production, it's there. But I do think that he got some bad advice skipping the Senior Bowl. He didn't participate in the Combine, and actually, I'm not quite sure why that happened. So for me, I know he's going to be dropped down a lot of teams' boards because of just bad decision-making, which if you're going into the NFL making a bad decision, kind of a little bit worried about what happens later on down the road. Let's go to Michigan now, where I got Donovan Peoples-Jones. And if you're looking for a player who you'd probably build on Madden, it's Donovan Peoples-Jones, right? Because at 6'2", 208 pounds, has all the athletic tools, but for some reason was never quite able to produce. We'll see if he can produce at the next level. So we're going to go from Michigan to, I guess, the Ohio State. I was going to say the team up north, but I don't even know where I'm at this point. So we got KJ Hill. He just thrives on short, quick routes. I think it's okay to be a wide receiver 3 in today's NFL. Like, you don't have to be the number 1. You don't have to be the number 2. Number 3, really good wide receiver, is very important. And in my opinion, that's what I think KJ Hill is going to be able to do. You know, a player who's going to pick up that tough first down, who's going to be like 3rd and 7, you're going to hit KJ Hill. And it's actually why he is personally one of my favorite sleepers. Now, he's not my favorite. If you want to know who my favorite wide receiver sleeper is, hit me up on Instagram at MitchellRenz365. But when I made this video, I was like, all right, I want to try to get 200 comments on this bad boy. So give me your favorite wide receiver sleeper. And if you want me to look into any other people, go ahead, throw those names in the comments section below. Let's get in now to the last 10 guys, and I'll try to be a little bit quick. I got Bryan Edwards out of South Carolina. I personally think that he's going to go in round 3. Gabriel Davis had an absolute breakout year of 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. Devin Duvernay out of Texas. He went from outside wide receiver early to pure slot and just absolutely thrived. If you guys want an NFL comp for Duvernay, I think of Golden Tape. James Proche, I was able to watch him down here in Texas a few times at SMU. He played outside, he played slot, but I think the slot's going to be where he ends up. And then number 20, if you want to talk about my favorite sleeper, and it's one of Tom's favorite sleepers, Lynn Bowden Jr. Dude is unbelievably athletic, reminds me of Randall Cobb. The only issue with that, he also kind of reminds me of a little bit of Braxton Miller. Let's get into my last 5 players here in my top NFL draft wide receiver rankings. I got Colin Johnson, and he had just a simply major drop-off in production from 2018 to 2019, but at 6'5", 222 pounds, he's going to find a home. Let's go to Van Jefferson now. I think he's going to make a solid wide receiver 3 in the NFL. Also, father, longtime assistant NFL coach of the Jets. Maybe that's where he ends up going. Let's go to Antonio Gandy Golden, who you want to talk about another solid sleeper. You're looking at Gandy Golden at a Liberty. Reminds me a little bit of Michael Floyd. Let's go to John Hightower. Fast. Speed. If you like speed, you're going to like Hightower. He ran a 4.4340. Also another comp for him, Kenny Stills. Let's go to my last player then, Quez Watkins. Very raw, but has the speed and athletic ability worth developing on day 3. And when I say speed, I'm talking like 4.35 speed. Yeah, it's Quez Watkins. So if you watched until the very, very end, did I leave anyone off my top 25 list? I'm sure I did. There's a lot of talented receivers. And in this year's draft, you're going to see probably more receivers drafted in a very, very long time. So if you love receivers, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. We're going to be live for the entire thing, all 7 rounds, all the picks, all the analysis you could ever want. And again, if I didn't mention anyone, throw them in the comments section below.